got zero friends.
You have just entered the girls' locker room. It's your girl, Talita Mokia, in here hanging out with my boo, Emma Dean, and my good sis, CJ.
Hi.
Today we are talking about a very sensitive topic. So I'm just gonna go ahead and say trigger warning now. Today's topic is domestic violence is real. We are living in a world where domestic violence is real. US statistics last year, 1 in every 3 women was experienced some kind of physical form of violence from their intimate partner, and 1 in every 4 men. And then 1 in every 7 women were seriously injured by their intimate partner, and 1 in every 25 men were seriously injured by their intimate partner. So we are definitely living in a world where domestic violence is real. I think coming off of COVID, those numbers are probably way higher than what they may have been in other times. Um, yeah, I'm a domestic violence survivor. Um, so I think probably all of us here may have experienced some form of domestic violence in some kind of way. Maybe. What are you guys' experiences, ladies?
To be honest, I really never experienced like domestic violence, like someone, I say good morning, shut up, bitch, and put a slap or nothing like that. Or I've fought mates, at the first sign of fuckery, but it was never me letting you hit on me and just being there. And I feel bad for anyone that feels that may be love, because it's not.
You gave
Real
as much as you
shit.
got.
Exactly. To me, real shit, the only thing you should be beating is your meat. So if, you feel that you're going to hit me, I'm going to hit you back. And it's probably going to be the end of the relationship, if not the end of, you permanently walking straight or whatever. But I've never like been in a full-fledged domestic violence relationship.
But I think that's where a little bit of the confusion kind of come in, or the misconception, because if you're fighting your mate, that is a form of domestic violence. So it is some kind of exposure to domestic violence. If you're fighting, it's kind of on both ends, because it's a physical assault from both of you guys. I think people look at it as like the whoever the mate is that's being abused is just, it's consistent or it's constant. Like, no, if your mate is yelling and screaming at you, that is a form of psychological abuse. That is a form of psychological domestic violence. And people don't pick up on those clues. Those are triggers. Those are warning clues that something physical can be brewing. So
that's why I don't know. I just, at the first sign of foolishness, I'm going. I think more because common fucking sense tells me men are stronger than women. I didn't date guys that were fucking little like me. So if I get the inclination, this is going to become something serious, you're probably going to be able to whoop me. So I will defend myself and I will leave, because I'm not about to try to defend myself against someone I'm fucking. That's just not going to work for me. I can't let you beat me and then later on give you the best sex you've ever had. I just don't know. I mean, and I really feel bad. I really would love to help women understand that it's a little easier than you think. And unless you have children, which I know some may have children, some may be married, but you're worth so much more. You really are.
Yeah. My instances happened in a car. I've only had like 1 or 2 like domestic violence situations, and I gave as good as I got. Like, I went toe to toe with them. But one that really stood out was like we were in a car and we were actually in Wilmington, North Carolina, and we were on a way to a restaurant. We were happy, like, like this is gonna be fun, like we're gonna eat, everything's fine. Well, like we ended up like hitting a pothole and it blew the tire out. And like his attitude, like come to find out he's a narcissistic sociopath. So like as soon as like, things fucked up, he started to freak out. And I'm like, just calm down, we'll get the tire changed, like it's okay. And then we spent the next 2 hours driving around and him like freaking the fuck out. And finally, like I kind of got annoyed with the situation and I was driving and I got annoyed with the situation and he was just like, just throwing a fit. And like, he was like, I'm just gonna jump out of the car and like walk down the street. And I like said something like, well, I'm gonna call your parole officer. And that just set him off. And he jumped back in the car and then he choked me to the point that I passed out while I was driving the fucking car down the road. Yeah. And like it was really weird because like I maintained consciousness, but I lost the ability, like I lost feeling in my legs and in my arms. And like I couldn't put my foot to the pedal and just like the car kind of slowed down and drifted off. And like he was just like freaking out. And then he took over driving behind the car and we proceeded to drive around for the next 2 hours again with him yelling at me saying like, like, bitch, you don't matter. Like, what did he say? He said, bitch, you don't matter. You're not my baby mama. We're not married. We're not together. Like I could kill you at any moment. Like da 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 da. And like to get out of that situation, I actually like cut myself and jumped out of the car. And I cut myself that I had to go to the hospital, get stitches. And like, yeah, I slit my wrist like to get out of that situation because I was sick of him talking to me that way and sick of him doing that. And that was actually a work trip. And I had to get up 4 hours later and be in a clinic working with women who actually go through domestic violence. And the biggest situation that happened, and this was the only time I ever broke my cool with a patient when I was working at the clinic. It was just, God, it was shitty. And this all happened back to back. So this was before narcissist dude. So I jumped from meth addict to narcissist. And like meth addict, we'd been dating for a couple years and I was just kind of getting done with him, like I was supporting him. I was the one that was doing paying the bills, just basically keeping his ass. It was like a fucking dependent grown ass man that couldn't like buy his shit or anything like that. And I was just kind of getting done with him and I was about to kick him to the curb. And it was right before I finished my bachelor's degree and I had to get those final papers in. Like I had to go and travel again to North Carolina to perform my work for my job at that time. And I just had all this shit going on. And he wanted me to give him money to pay his fucking car bill. And I was like, no, I'm not going to go into my savings to make sure that you have a fucking car. That is your responsibility. And like he was just screaming at me, and it was in my apartment, and we lived in a townhouse. And he was screaming at me. We were just screaming at each other. And like he put his hands on me, and I just started laughing hysterically. Like I didn't even cry at this point. Like I've developed like trauma responses where I don't even fucking cry anymore. I'm just like laughing like awkwardly and creepily. And that even freaked him out further to the point that the little old lady that lived next door came and beat on the door and was like, I'm going to call the cops if you don't fucking leave. And yeah, and it was just like all of that back to back to back. But yeah, I gave as good as I got. Like, like they hit me, I hit them back, you know, but was it healthy? Should you put up with that bullshit? Fuck no, don't. And don't let yourself get to the point where you're in these situations that you're like, holy fuck, I would rather die alone than have to deal with an asshole that's going to choke me out in my car, or deal with an asshole that's going to get mad when I don't pay his fucking bills, or buy him cigarettes, or buy him booze, or, get pissed and, because I won't fuck him or something. Like the whole point of this, I guess, is don't let yourself get to that point. Recognize those fucking bullshit. Like if he's gonna be a nasty asshole and roll up his little cigarettes and put them in your fucking pockets and you're washing that shit, don't put up with that. Like, no, just yeah. Be like CJ. First sign of fuckery, done. Go away. Bye, motherfucker. Like, yes. Don't, because you'll find somebody else. Like, it is not worth it. Even one of those assholes said to me a couple times, they're like, you're like, are you worried you're never gonna find anybody that loves you like me? And it literally got to that point where I was like, if this is love, I don't fucking want it. Like fuck it. like I'm better off alone. And like I guess it's like like I'm ranting, I'm sorry. But I guess it's like
this is a safe space.
like, this is like attachment response because like you get like these like codependency. There we go. That's the word I was looking for. Just this codependency upon these motherfucking assholes. But it's like, what are they doing for you? You know, like, how are they helping you? I mean, it's just me giving, 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 and them fucking taking, taking, taking until finally I put up a barrier and I'm like, I'm not going to take anymore. Then they get fucking pissy with me. Don't, like, you know, look at that. Like, you know, it's a give and take situation in relationships. Like, you know, they give some, you give some. It's not you completely giving 100 fucking percent. Like, you know, if you have more money and you can pay for bills, that's fine. But don't be like paying for them and they're just sitting at home playing fucking video games all day. Or, you know, driving around smoking pot, or, you know, going to get meth in the middle of fucking nowhere and take your car for 3 fucking days and disappear, because that has happened. You know, like,
yeah.
Don't
And
give them the money. Don't let them drive your car.
that is also a form of domestic violence, financial domestic violence. People don't understand that, don't realize that either. Like, someone who has to control all the money that's coming in, your money, their money, and you don't have any control over it. You don't have any way. They basically isolate you from having an out. That is a form of domestic violence. So like if you have one vehicle and they take that vehicle for 3 days, that is let's really make sure we're paying attention to these signs, because they're isolating you from escape. Back to your story, and shout out to the little old lady who banged on the door.
She's so cool.
Seriously.
I need to go say it.
Shout out to her.
Really, I can't even. I'll
Thank
remember.
you
It'll pop up
for
in my.
looking out for me. And she probably knew, and she knows you, and she doesn't really know him. So yeah, she's gonna look out for you. And we need more of that too. And the sad part about it is a lot of people say they don't want to get involved because it can easily turn from you trying to help the domestic violence victim to you being jumped by both uh the mates. And so it's sad, but the reality is it shouldn't stop you from at least saying, hey, it's not worth it. And another thing that I think about when it comes to domestic violence is, in all actuality, we as mates, boyfriends, girlfriends, whatever, we put up and are willing to put up with a lot. But though a lot of people look at it as emotional domestic violence isn't nothing. Oh, it doesn't matter. I'm not putting my hands on you, whatever. It's the same difference. Because if someone's an emotional wreck, they can't function daily doing just normal everyday activities. So mental domestic violence is just as important, if not more important, than physical, because you don't know what's going on in their mind, and who's to know that they may snap. So many, and it's unfortunately it's a lot of men that are killing their families and killing themselves. Now we have some women that have done it. It's just, why, and how did it get to that point, and could someone have helped you, and what would you have wanted them to say or do? Because again, everything's picture perfect on the outside. You see no bruises, you don't see any forms of violence, but mentally, what's going on? We're losing families, like whole families, spouse and children. So what's going on?
It's psychological abuse, I believe, is actually probably worse than physical domestic violence, because scars will heal, but that damage that they've done to your psyche, it's gonna take a lot. You have to put in so much work to heal that part of you that you didn't damage, which makes it worse, because you didn't when you break something, you usually know how to put it back together. But when you didn't break it and you have to fix it, it's that much harder. And that's why it is important for people to know, like, there's multiple different kinds of domestic violence, not just physical domestic violence. Reason why I say shout out to M's old neighbor is because I lost my mom to domestic violence. And I remember when I went to her house to look for paperwork and things like that, one of her neighbors seen us in the hallway, and she was like, I want to apologize to you. And I'm like, apologize to me for what? Like, lady, what are you talking about? And she was like, I heard the yelling and screaming, but I didn't call 911 because I thought someone else would have called 911. And I just, it's one thing to want to get involved in it. It costs you nothing to pick up the phone and call 911. Hey, I'm hearing yelling and screaming, sound like stuff is breaking next door. I live blah, 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 blah. It's an apartment X, Y, and Z. That early phone call can prevent death or serious bodily harm or serious injuries, because the person who's doing the attacking don't know that 911 was called. So when the cops come, it's going to be more of it's going to be a shock element for them. So that can kind of help prevent. So I just say that, like, you don't have to knock on the door. Like, if you brave enough like me,
we going in.
Like, unlock. I'm like, yo, you good? You straight? All right. But even if you're not, you might not be that kind of person. Picking up the phone and calling 911, it costs you what, 5 minutes, if that long. Because even if you call and hang up, they're gonna track the call. When they get off the elevator, they hear the same noise you hearing, or when they come up the steps, they hear the same noise you hearing. Let's be mindful and look out for each other in ways like that. And people, they're gonna say it. People are like, oh, nosy ass neighbors calling the police. Well, yeah, you know what? You right. I was being a little nosy. I did call the police, but I'd rather be safe than sorry in the end, and no regrets. That's when it comes to domestic violence. That's something that I've started telling myself, no regrets. So if I do call the cops and it's nothing, I'm not going to regret that I called the cops. If I did call the cops and it was something and it saved somebody or it protected someone in that moment, no regrets. When it comes to domestic violence, let's just think no regrets. Sometimes we just have to do what we have to do. Not saying that you have to put yourself in harm's way, but you have to do what you have to do. I had a friend, her baby father got the fighting. You know me, I jumped right in that fight. Got her out, she left, and they didn't fight. She didn't fight me with him. She left with me. 2 weeks later, they was back together. 2 weeks after that, me and her couldn't be friends anymore. We didn't speak for like 11 years. She died. We never mended that relationship. So.
Was she still with him?
No,
So
she was with him. Well, yeah, off and on. Yeah. Yeah. And I was the bad guy. So I get it. And, I didn't blame her for it, because in my mind, she had to do what she chose to go back. So her keeping me away was a safety mechanism for her. Because
the sad part about it is, as friends, we can't do the same thing as mates do. Mm-hmm. And that's an extra feeling we can't add for them. So it's something that they accept. So my mother-in-law, your mother, the person, the piece of shit that did what he did, mm-hmm. I had, okay. Mm-hmm. And all right. So prior to that occurring, I had just had my son, and I was working in a different state than where my husband was living. And I had my son with me. And I want to say he was maybe 2 or 3 months old. And we were asleep or whatever. And he's an infant, so they wake up in the middle of the night, whatever. So my husband called me, and he was like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I'm tired. I'm trying to get some sleep. Oh, well, that fucking piece of shit that did what he did told me that, you out there doing me wrong and this, that, and the third. And I'm like, son, right now you sound stupid. And so does he. And I never trusted him, the piece of shit. I never trusted him. And lo and fucking behold, I had my gut fucking woman's intuition feeling was fucking correct. Okay, was fucking correct. And I'm
Yeah.
done. But yeah.
I got tons of story about that dude too. I'm actually in a place now where I don't hate him anymore. I don't like him. Some days he's forgiven in my heart, and some days he's not. But the forgiveness isn't for him. It's for me, because I realized that when I was hating him, when I was wishing bad on him and praying for bad on him, that it was a part of me that was being held hostage in that space of loss. And the only way for me to let it go was for me to forgive him. Now, there are days when I'm just like so far gone, where I'm missing my mom, that I'm just like, he need to die too. That's just where I'm at with it. But it's not every day anymore. So I feel like I have better days now because I'm not so fixated on what's going on with him and his jail cell, you know? Um, of course, he was not the best person. My mom, she had what I like to call stray cat syndrome. And she hated when I told her that. She loved the stray cat that she would take in the house and give it milk and baby it and feed it and fix it up and grow it into a kitten and grow it into a full-blown cat. But we all know that when cats are street cats, they're gonna go back to the streets. And that was her, to me, that was her biggest downfall. But to say all of that, to say trust your gut instinct when you know something is wrong. If it's you or if it's a close family member, you need to voice it. I voiced it. She knew. Oh, baby, she knew. Y'all know me. I don't keep my mouth shut. Mm-mm. She knew how I felt. Me and him went tussling plenty of days behind my mama. But that's how I am about anybody I care about, because I grew up in a domestic violence home. My mom's husband was abusive to her. So I'm very protective. That instinct kicks in. So it's like, if I feel like you're mine, I'm a tussle behind you. Whether it's me arguing with somebody or me physically tussling behind you. When I feel like you mine, I feel like I gotta protect what's mine. Like, you're my friend, and this dude got a hand problem, we're gonna get you out of here. Now, if you decide to go back, there's nothing I can do but let you know that there is a safe space for you here. We all know someone who has struggled or who may be struggling with some form of domestic violence, or recovering from some kind of form of domestic violence. Let's be that safe space for them. Let's let them know, like, you know what, you're safe here. If you need to vent, you need to have a conversation. We need to do a bash party. Like, we need to go throw axes. We need to do whatever we need to do so that you can be okay. Let's do it. Oh, you need to get out. All right. So I'm gonna pull up at the back of the house at 2 a.m. with the van door open. Just grab your book bag and slide through. We gone. Let's make sure we're being a resource for those people. Because we all know someone or know someone who knows someone who's going through something like that, even if it's just a matter of telling them, like, hey, this is the 1-800 number, they'll help you, something like that. Because from what I've read and what I've researched, a lot of people who suffer with domestic violence, they might not die from it, but they commit suicide because they want out and they just don't know how, because everybody looks at them like, oh, well, why are you putting up with that? Why are you staying in it? Like, we don't know their reasons why. So let's be open to it,
Before how we judge them.
Yeah. I'm not going to your house because he got a hand problem and I got a hand problem too. But we can go out. We can go do brunch. We can go do lunch. You can come over to my house. Tell him don't come to my house because that won't end up good. But you're safe when you're here.
Yeah,
I'll
exactly.
never forget, like, a couple of months ago, I don't know what happened. CJ called my husband and was like, I think she called me. He answered the phone. She was crying. And my brother was here. That crazy night you slept on my couch. And My husband was like, "Are you okay?" And she was like, "No, I'm not okay." We didn't know what the fuck was going on. We didn't give a fuck what was going on. He got back in the car and picked her up, and she slept on my couch. I don't give a damn who it is.
And
And at
just
the
to be
end, we
clear,
realized that it wasn't nothing crazy, but
it
she
wasn't
was
domestic violence.
right, right,
It
right.
was
But she
just
wasn't
me
in
hitting
a
somebody. And thank you. Yes.
psychologically, she wasn't in a place that she can deal with whatever was going on. So we had to be that safe space.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
That.
That is okay. If Emily calls me talking about, I'm driving down the highway, I don't know what to do. Well, I'm gonna need you to go ahead and get off on my exit and pull up the hill. Always got a couch,
there.
futon beds, blow up mattresses, whatever we need to do to make sure that you're safe. Not saying that it was a domestic violence thing. I'm just saying, like, be that resource. Be what you want somebody else to be for you if it was in you. I always say I treat people how I want people to treat my children. I want somebody to be a resource for my child. If my child getting bust upside her head and she ain't telling me, please somebody go get my kid.
Exactly. And they better hope it's not me. I'm not even as, I will not incriminate myself. Just know.
Right. I plead the fifth right now. Like,
Just know. Because, daughters, okay, someone that I love, okay, my niece, her baby father isn't shit. I'm saying it, whatever. He's not, he knows he's not. Okay. DV, and I try to be there for her. And like you said, Talita, if they go back, there's nothing you can really do. And it's not. I just know when it comes to domestic violence, and that's between you and your mate, whatever, don't bring that shit to someone's house and there's other people there. Because now you've involved a whole lot of other people.
Mm-hmm.
And that instance occurred. He wasn't as stupid as I thought he was. He did realize where he fucked up and rolled out. But if you're dealing with a situation with your mate, keep that shit between you and them. Don't roll up to my shit.
That's part of the control.
Yeah.
Like, okay. They'll do that. They'll pull shit like that in front of people on purpose to
make the other people back down. Like, I don't want no parts of it.
But the thing is, he knows that's not the case. And that's
not saying that you're going to back down from him, but basically
what he's doing.
They want you to turn your back on that person. And if they go back, yeah, there is nothing you can do, but let them know there is a safe space here. I'm not stepping my foot in that water anymore. But if you get on a boat, it's a dock here.
Mm-hmm.
It's a safe space here. Like, that situation, CJ, we was in that situation together.
Yeah, exactly. At one point, I mean, and it was
almost all went to jail behind it, but
it's what it is. I love you, so like you said, if I love you, I'm gonna protect you or whatever, and keep that between you and her. And my thing was, she would say certain stuff, and mind you, you're not mature enough to have a conversation with her to know that she may say some shit you're not gonna like, but whatever, that's you guys, that's what you do. Don't come to my fucking house talking about he was coming to fight my nephew. No, you wasn't. He knew not to step out onto my property. I got that gate. So once you come into the gate,
camera, all right, watch this.
6 feet. 6 feet.
But I have a no trespassing sign and beware of dog sign. So you step physically onto my shit. Whatever happens to you is between you and you. And the only one that can help you
is the dog. They better beware of the owner.
I got that sign. Fuck the beware the owner. I'm not playing
the dog. I'm not gonna play.
I don't like domestic violence. If you feel like you have to put your hands, like seriously, if you feel like you have to put your hands on someone to harm them, or if you feel like you need to speak to them in a derogatory tone, then leave them the fuck alone.
Mm-hmm.
Leave them alone. Like seriously.
Work on yourself.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like I said, the only thing you should be beating on is your meat. So other than that,
They can't even do that right.
look,
Usually they have little dicks.
that's not my concern or my nut. The bottom line is though, don't be putting your hands on people because it can really end up ugly. It can end up ugly. And that's the one thing I don't play. That and the fact that I feel like domestic violence, the abusers try to, when it comes to physical domestic violence, they try to make, the person they're hitting ugly. So nobody else would want them. And that's why it's for me, the first sign of fuckery, I'm done. I'm out. Because you're not going to be beating on me, making me ugly, and treating me like shit. Nah, hell no. Hell no. Hell no.
Your ass and put you outside your drawers while you're
I'll
not.
put up with some shit, but I will not put up with that. Fuck no. Because it's not even about being attractive for someone else to want me. Why the fuck I gotta go to work with this black eye, to the grocery store, to church, wherever? Why do no, hell no. Hell no.
Or advanced domestic abusers rely on choking because, like, if they've caught a couple charge for domestic abuse, they will evolve
bruises.
Choking because it doesn't leave as many bruises, but it does cause just as bad a psychological effect. And then also, verbally beating people down. But mine kind of ends on a happy story. So I don't know. I guess like I was trying to like get something back from that dude that choked me out in my car, but I realized like it's not going to happen. Anyway, fast forward 6 months because he just ghosts because he's a narcissist and that was his thing, was like, love bombing and then like fights, and then he would ghost and then come back for love bombing. Anyway, fast forward like 6 months and he calls me and he's like, I'm going to jail. Like, I need your support. I need all this and da 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 da. And remember when he said, I don't matter because I'm not his baby mama, I'm not his wife, I just don't, matter. I was like, oh, I'm not your baby mama. I'm not your wife. Like, why would I do that for you? Why would I help you through this situation? Like, like, you haven't talked to me in 6 months and now you're expecting me to jump in and just like, do all this wifey shit. Like,
no, I'm gonna stand up for myself and you can go stand up for yourself wherever the fuck you going, and that's the thing.
He caught his third DV.
Well,
or assault against a family member and brandishing a firearm against a family member. So he's gone for 10 years. Bye.
Love yourself. Love yourself. It's the best thing you could do for yourself. Know what you are willing to put up with, and don't settle for less. You don't deserve it. You're beautiful. Trust me. Fuck haters. They're gonna be everywhere. Love yourself. Don't let nobody take your beauty, inner and outer.
Love yourself more than you love anyone else. Self-love is the best love, is the most important love. If you're not loving on yourself properly, you can't love others properly. So let's make sure we're loving ourselves. We're recognizing the warning signs and the triggers. If you see someone who is a part or who is in a domestic violence situation, let them know that there is a safe space. National DV hotline number, 1-800-799-7233. Again, that's 1-800-799-7233. If you know someone who is in a domestic violence situation or who is in a domestic violence space, let them know that there is a safe space, even if you're not comfortable being a safe space. If you hear something going on, neighbors, they say if you hear something, if you see something, say something. If you hear something, say something. It could be the difference between them living or them having some kind of extensive damage done to them. Let's make sure we're being accountable for each other. That's what we're here for. We're here to make sure that each other are okay and that we can survive. Don't put yourself in any harm's way. Keep yourself safe. Y'all heard it here in a girls' locker room. Domestic violence is real. Protect yourself. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and we'll catch you guys next week. We love y'all.
Bye.
I got 0 friends.